is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So we're here for another one of our mass making sessions. We are up to week number 268, and this week what we are making is easy envelope pockets. These are the easiest pockets ever. So what are you going to need if you want to craft along? You're going to need a bunch of envelopes. Now I've got a whole bunch of different sized envelopes. Now it's got to be said, when I first ever started making these types of pockets, I always used like these long, what we would call DL size envelopes. But over time, I've kind of like managed to make them from all different size envelopes. So I'm pretty sure no matter what size envelopes you have, you're going to be able to make some of these. I've even included some of these like really small square envelopes. These are just literally just under 4 by 4. So, you know, pretty much kind of any envelopes will do. I've even also included some of these gigantic envelopes. These are actually even slightly bigger than A5, because you could cut this in half. So, you know, if you've got envelopes, whatever size they are, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to use them. So a bunch of different envelopes. Now I have to say mine are all new envelopes. They are not junk mail envelopes, you know, or mail envelopes that I've kind of, you know, recycling. Mine are all new envelopes, but some are, you know, pretty scrappy. When I say new, I may have had them for years and years. You're going to need some paper to decorate your envelope pockets with, and again, I've got printables. I say this all the time. That's because I predominantly have printables these days. You don't have to use printables. You could use anything at all. You could use, you know, book page, sheet music, anything at all. I don't think thickness really matters too much, but probably not very, very thick paper. So this is all 120 GSM. If you've got like scrapbooking paper that's 250 GSM, I would think that would be too thick. So, you know, thinnish paper is what you would need. So that's my paper for covering the envelopes. Now you're going to need obviously some glue. I always use the Anita's tacky glue whenever I'm using like paper to paper. And then I always like to have a glue spreader. Now that could be like an old gift card or something like that, you know, and just to spread the glue out with. Then you might like to have a tissue or a dried wet wipe or something just to kind of mop out any excess glue. And you're going to need some scissors, or if you prefer to use like a paper trimmer, then a paper trimmer would be fine. And then alternative, or not alternatives, but extra additional things that you might like to have is you might want to have some distress ink and a blendy tool or something. And you may wish to have things to decorate, depending on whether you want to leave them blank or decorate them. And then the only other thing really that I think is optional is, or, you know, maybe nice to have, is a thumb hole punch. And when I say a thumb hole punch, I literally mean a circle punch. So this here is a 1-inch circle punch. You know, you may or may not like to have that. And again, obviously, if you're using much bigger envelopes, you may like to have a bigger circle. So this is 1 inch, but you might like to have a 1.5 inch or something like that. Just play around and decide what, you know, what you like to do best. Now, as I say, these are the simplest pockets ever. So you're just going to absolutely love these. So literally we're going to take an envelope, and I'm going to start with the small envelopes that I said about saying, you know, that we've even incorporated some of the small ones. Now what you want to do is basically seal your envelope closed. So this is a self-sealing envelope, but I always like to, you know, give it some extra help with some glue, because I never quite trust it to actually stay sealed down with just the, you know, the gum or the glue or, you know, whatever it is that they use. So I'm going to just kind of like press it down like that. Okay. And then all you're going to do is cover your envelope. So I'm going to just take a little bit of paper here. This is some from my Swan Lake kit. I'm just going to go around. Now when I make these, I tend to leave a space around the edge. So, oops, here, like that. Just going to go in here like that. And then just take that down. Okay, and then just, yeah, go here. And then just, yeah, fold that up like that. Okay. And then here I'm going to actually just cut it down. Okie dokie. Like that. And then we're just going to pop that there. I'm just going to cut it down slightly because I maybe made it a little bit too wide there. Now this is obviously a white envelope. I've got a mixture of white and you know, kind of light brown envelopes. But obviously if you wanted to coffee dye your envelopes, you could do that as well. Obviously, you know, up to you how you wanted to do these. If I haven't coffee dyed them, i.e. this one, then what I like to do really is ink around the edge. So I'm just going to glue this down first, spreading it out with my glue spreader, mopping it up then with my tissue, and then all you're going to do is cut the top of the envelope off to form your pocket. So that's why we sewed them closed like that. And then what you've got is a top loading pocket like that. Now this is where of course you've got the option of putting a thumb hole in. So if you were to do that, you'd just kind of go along to where you want your thing. Now I'm struggling obviously to do this without putting my head in, so I'm just going to lift it up and yeah, kind of like that, just so as I didn't get my head into the camera. So like that. And then what you could do, and this again is optional whether you wanted to do this or whether you wanted to ink it, but you know, like the inside now we can see white. So what you could do is take this and cut it down like that. Oops. Just so that where you see where the thumb hole is, it's not glaring white. Now obviously if you didn't put a thumb hole, you might not need to do this, you know, because it wouldn't necessarily show too much. But if you've got the thumb hole, I think that's quite a nice thing to do. Oops. Just going to take that rough edge down a bit. Okay, so we're just then apply some glue here. And like I say, I mean, this is completely optional really, if you wanted to do this or not. I like to then run a bit of glue here, like right at this very top edge, so that I've got right to the actual edge of there, just in case I haven't with my sheet of paper here. So take your paper, just slide that into the, oops, into the envelope like that. Okay, squish that down. Again, let's just go over with the glue spreader, or what I'm using as the glue spreader, like that. And can you see there, you know, we've got then the sort of matching thumb hole and, you know, not thumb hole, if you see what I mean. Then if you want to ink yours up, what I would do is I would put this in here, or of course you could have inked it first. But if you haven't, I like to put something here covering where the thumb hole is, because otherwise you're going to just ink it and get like the shape of the thumb hole, you know, inked. So I put a piece of paper in there, and then you can just go around the edge like that. Whoops. Like that. And can you see there, I've managed to ink around the thumb hole, but without actually inking the inside. I will of course go across the top, but I didn't want to ink this entire bit, if that makes sense. So like that, and then you've got, you know, the thumb hole kind of like isolated, if that makes sense. So just going around the edges like that. So, you know, you can see there's no need to have obviously coffee dyed that envelope, because now it's obviously, you know, nicely inked up anyway. And that's it, that's your pocket. And then if you were using this in a journal, how I would use this is I would glue it on maybe 3 sides like that, and you could have then a side loading pocket and of course the top loading pocket there. So I mean, they literally could not be easier. Obviously depending on the size and the shape of your envelope will depend how you form your pockets. So if I just show you now, like using one of these larger envelopes, what I would do, I would glue this down like this. So, you know, exactly the same as we did with the last one. So again, just, you know, glue spread my flaps down. And then what I would do is I would cut this in half. So basically you're getting 2 pockets from the one envelope. And then instead of being obviously a top loading pocket, these would be a side loading pocket. And, you know, that's just kind of like a little way to be able to use bigger envelopes and obviously, you know, the smaller envelopes. So just take that down to sort of give myself a guide as to where I need to cut this. Oops, cut along where that fold line is, like that. And then as you can see, I've got 2 pockets there from that one envelope. So, you know, very, very quick, easy way to do that. Now, I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue in there because I noticed that that's not quite glued down. There we go. Okay, and then you're doing exactly the same, i.e., you know, covering obviously the front and, you know, deciding do you want a thumb hole or do you want the straight edge really. So they really couldn't be easiest. Oh, by the way, if I was then using this in a journal with the side pocket here, this side, I personally, if I was going to glue this down as another pocket, I would glue it on these 3 edges so that the pocket was here on this thick side where the paper's joined. I wouldn't glue it down on that side where I had A, a pocket here and B, a pocket straight beneath, because I think that would be difficult to use. But also then you'd have this very flimsy piece of paper as your you know, pocket at the bottom. So I personally would use this side as the pocket and obviously this as the pocket. I hope that kind of made sense. So that's all there is to them. They could not be any easier. Like I say, they're probably, you know, the world's easiest pockets, to be honest. So yeah, we're just going to kind of like get along and mass make these. In fact, I'm not going to even cover them yet. We're going to do all the mass making straight away. And you know what we like to do obviously in the mass making, if you haven't watched or joined in with us before, is we do all the sort of same step processes in one go, sort of like assembly line style. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to seal all of my envelopes closed in the first instance, and then line them all, you know, with the paper, cut them, and then ink them all together. So, you know, we're doing kind of assembly line style. And we can just relax now and have a super lovely, you know, 45 minutes or so and a lovely catch up. So I hope everybody is doing brilliant. This is my first mass making for a couple of weeks now, so I do apologise. Obviously, I had already said that the mass making was not going to be going ahead for a couple of weeks while I was on holiday with my children. Well, I say children, I mean, one of them's 18 and the other one's 11, so I think she's obviously a child, but the 18-year-old I doubt would appreciate being called a child. Right, this one, it's a really nice quality envelope, so I don't think I'm going to use that one. I'm just going to stick with the envelopes here. Yeah, so whilst I was on holiday, so but I did obviously put up a series while we were away. Now, I have a big apology to make because I was not able really to comment on videos at all while we were away. So we went on a cruise. I did talk about this before, but you know, we went on a cruise, and sometimes we buy, or ordinarily I've bought like the internet package. We didn't do that this year. So yeah, we kind of like winged it without the internet, and yeah, it was very obviously hit and miss. We had internet sometimes on the days that we were like in port and things like that, but you know, then obviously we were perhaps doing other things and stuff. So you know, I do really apologise. I have not really replied to any comments particularly at all for 2 weeks. I mean, I've literally replied to maybe like 10 comments, and that's kind of it really. So I really apologise, and I just want to say a massive thank you to anybody who did make a comment and who did watch the series or any of the other videos that I put up for the last couple of weeks. And I really hope that you enjoyed the series. I hope you enjoyed any of the videos that you might have watched. And yeah, I do really apologise that I haven't, you know, replied to comments or in fact even read most of them because, you know, like I say, we didn't have kind of internet. So, and now obviously we only got back yesterday. So since being back, I've had a lot of cleaning to do. I've had a lot of washing to do, shopping, you know, all the usual gubbins. So I still haven't particularly managed to go online or anything, you know, to kind of like reply to any comments or anything like that. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone who did watch, who did make comments, and I will be reading through them. I probably won't have time to now reply because, of course, and I talk about this sometimes, but I'm such a chatterbox that, to be honest, what happens is, particularly if it's kind of like, you know, quite a sort of lengthy comment, there's loads of points then that I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Oh yes, you know, that happens to me. And, you know, that I'm busy kind of like wanting to chat about all the comments or all the points raised or made. And yeah, I then definitely don't have time to obviously get through many comments. So I will probably just, you know, read them and have to make a blanket decision of no replies, because I think I will be, yeah, getting very distracted and waylaid if I start replying. So yeah, but please know that, you know, I do really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much. This one's a very, very flimsy envelope, so actually I'm not going to use that. I don't know what's happened to that one. It's really, really flimsy. Anyway, so that's that. So yeah, how was our holiday? Yeah, we had a lovely holiday, thank you very much. And yeah, not really very pleased to be back, so yeah, I can't lie, but hey, it was a lovely holiday. I just love the fact that, you know, someone else is cooking for you, somebody else is like cleaning up, you know, tidying your room, making your bed, all of those kinds of things. Yeah, it's just like so nice, isn't it? I mean, mainly the cooking. I just think, oh, isn't it nice to not have to do any cooking, not have to do any cleaning up after the cooking, not have to even be thinking about, oh gosh, what should we have to eat or anything. So yeah, it's been really, really nice. And to be honest, I don't really eat very well when I'm at home. You know, since kind of getting divorced and things, I think I've talked about this before, but even my daughter, she's now like, Mum, don't cook for me. No. And if I cook her dinner, you know, because obviously I'm still her mum, you know, and I want to obviously try and sometimes be like, yay, I've cooked for you. She then is like, oh, Mum, I told you not to cook for me. Yeah. So, you know, because I'm not really cooking, obviously for her or my son, who, you know, he really is quite an adventurous cook and sort of likes cooking and things, I just find myself not really eating very well at all. So quite often I'll just have like a smoothie and maybe a couple of crumpets for my dinner, and sometimes I have cereal for my dinner, sometimes I'll have, you know, porridge for my dinner, that kind of thing. I'm not necessarily saying that those things are unhealthy, but they're not like conventional eating, are they? So yeah, not very good. So anyway, so it was really nice to actually just have, yay, somebody else is cooking for me, somebody else is planning my meal, somebody else is shopping for my meal, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was really nice, and I'm going to really miss it. We didn't have all that nice weather, I have to say. So, I mean, it's not probably quite true, but we had 4 days of not very nice weather. And when I say not very nice, I mean like proper, like, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say chilly necessarily, because that's probably an exaggeration, but definitely not great. 1 or 2 days, in fact, were so wet and awful. Like one of the port days, it was so chucking it down. In fact, it was thunderstorms. So we didn't actually even step outside the boat. You know, we didn't get off or anything like that, which was a shame, because it was one of the places that we've most been excited that we were going to go to. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame really. And the last 2 days of the cruise was rubbish weather. Again, we didn't really step outside. So, you know, we had like no sunbathing for the last 2 days or anything. I mean, we're really terrible when we're on holiday, very lazy. All we do is sunbathe. I know it's really bad for you, but my gosh, don't you just feel better when you've got a tan? So yeah, we didn't even, you know, step out for the last 2 days, which is a bit gutting, because normally it's that last couple of days that you really like make the most of the sun and getting brown and all that, don't you? And obviously not only did we not make the most of getting brown on the last couple of days, but the tan's already started to fade. And since we got home, obviously, you know, we didn't step outside yesterday. Well, it wasn't great weather, just quite muggy, but, you know, not particularly sunny. But also, obviously, it was busy, you know, unpacking and cleaning up and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, not kind of like had time to step outside. Today it does actually now look quite sunny, although weirdly it wasn't looking very sunny earlier. I'm just going to cut this one because I'm doing this in half. And I'm just wondering whether I want to do these ones in half as well. Probably do. So yeah, I'm just going to do these ones in half as well. These are 5x7 size envelopes. Oh, what was I saying? Oh, Lord only knows, to be honest. But anyway, so yeah, obviously just going to be busy now for a bit, so probably won't really get to sit outside until the weekend, so hopefully be able to like top my tan back up at the weekend. So yeah, I know it is terrible, and everyone kind of, you know, like it's almost a taboo thing, isn't it, to say that you want to sunbathe. People are like, oh, it's so bad for you, and obviously I know it is so bad for you, and I'm not in any way trying to say it's not, you know, it is. But oh my gosh, don't you just feel so much better when you've got a tan? It just makes you just feel lovely, you know. So yeah, anyway, right, that's probably as much as I'm going to do, because otherwise we're definitely going to run out of time. So I've probably been like over ambitious already, but let's kind of get on. So this is from the Vintage Desk set 3. So yeah, sorry, set 4, Vintage Desk 4 collection papers. So yeah, so just definitely do like to get a tan, you know, even though it is really bad for you. So yeah, I mean, obviously I do use sun cream and things like that, where, you know, when we were kids, I mean, it was terrible. Would literally, I mean, I can remember laying out with like tinfoil underneath. Tinfoil. Try and like really make yourself sizzle like you were roasting on a roasting tray, you know. And baby oil and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, proper bad, you know. And that was obviously back in like the 80s and early 90s, where we were all, you know, much more lacking awareness of how bad it was really to be sunbathing. But yeah, I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? Like now you kind of look at it and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe we ever did that, you know, because now we've got so much more awareness and we're like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, kids these days I don't think would ever do things like that, would they? Because obviously they do know about the dangers, but we just didn't really know, I think, back then. And you know, but yeah, I mean, obviously I do use sun cream now. So yeah, that was that. Anyway, it was a bit gutting because I think it was like really quite nice weather while we were away. So at home was really nice weather. That being said, it's not very nice when it's really hot at home, because, you know, we're not geared up for it in this country. No one has air conditioning or anything like that. The houses get really, 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 really hot. This is the Swan Lake papers again. So just going to trim that down a little bit. Yeah, so anyway, I don't think we missed much, even though, you know, technically it was lovely weather while we were gone. I think most people were like hiding inside because it was like so hot they couldn't bear being outside. So, you know, it kind of like swung in roundabouts, but it was just a bit gutting because it was like, oh, it's actually hotter at home than it is when we're, you know, while we're away. But yeah, I mean, that's just how it is sometimes, isn't it, when you go on holiday? Yeah, so anyway, that was that. We had a lovely time. I mean, yeah, just, you know, like when you're on holiday and you just laugh about like quite a lot, don't you? Like compared to when you're at home. I don't know about you guys, but you know, when we're at home, there's not a great deal of laughter going on, because normally it's just like, oh, you know, be quiet, I'm working, or, you know, whatever. So yeah, kind of like going on holiday and things, they're like the only time that you kind of really get some really nice kind of quality time together. So we were sharing a cabin, you know, there was my son, my daughter and myself. We were sharing a cabin, and oh my goodness, we were having such a lot of fun. So I don't know whether I should really say this because it sounds really bad, and oh, I'd be mortified if anybody knew the captain of the ship. So the captain of the ship, his name was Paul Brown, and I didn't actually hear this announcement, but he made an announcement one day, and he must have said something like, you know, it's pretty busy in the harbour today, I'm going to have to kind of like do some dicey moves. Not quite like that, but, you know, he must have kind of said, oh, I'm going to have to, like, you know, I don't know, dart in and out or something. Like I say, I didn't actually hear what he said. Totally dotty paper, by the way. But my son had heard him, so my son was laughing, and he said, oh mum, you know, Paul Brown, he said that he's going to have to like step on it kind of thing, you know, because it's really busy like in the harbour today, you know, or in the port, sorry, not the harbour. So that for some reason just started us off with this silly kind of joke. So he said, my son said, you know, oh my goodness, he's going to be hairing around. Paul Brown, stop hairing around. So of course, and that just came across really not very funny at all. But it was kind of like, oh, put your foot down, Paul Brown. And then we were just like everything that we could think that rhymed with Paul Brown. Now I have to say, who knew that such a lot of things rhymed with Paul Brown? So it was just hilarious. We spent the whole of one night just kind of like saying all these really silly things like, you know, oh, stop clowning around, Paul Brown. And this is the butterfly collection papers, by the way. Stop clowning around, Paul Brown. And, you know, oh, I don't know. Oh, stop wearing a frown, Paul Brown. And, you know, oh, stop messing around, Paul Brown. And, you know, all these just very silly things. And it, you know, very basic kind of stuff. But we were laughing our heads off. And to the point that we had gone down to dinner, we were still laughing about it. And then we were doing it with one or two of the other staff, you know, who maybe had like name badges on. And it just happened that lots of staff had names that you could, you know, make these little rhymes from, which was like super fun. This is the patisserie collection in, I think it's the pinks and greens. So yeah. It just happened that loads of them had these names that we could really make a lot of rhymes up with. But Paul Brown happened to be like the funniest one. So we were doing all this, and then, you know, we'd laughed about it so much that when we went back to our room to go to bed, and, you know, I'm such a lightweight on holiday, I still go to bed at like 10 o'clock. And yeah, really, really boring. I mean, ugh, no wonder I'm single, to be honest. So, yeah. So we went back to our room, and then, you know, we'd like read our Kindles for a little bit and things like that. So we were larking about, and we turned the light off to go to sleep. And you know, like when you've been having such a lot of fun, you can't sleep then because your mind's buzzing with like the laughing you've been doing. It was like that. And then so even laying down, this is the lavender collection papers. So even laying down, it was so funny because kept on having these rhymes like come into my head. Can you see what's happening here? I just want to point this out. So this envelope is actually taller than an A4 sheet of paper. So what I would actually do here is I'm going to just cut it down to make it much smaller straight away, because otherwise I'm going to get confused and end up kind of covering it, and it would be like too much covered, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to cut it down, and then I'll know that, you know, it's too tall. Yeah, so we turned the lights out, and then we were still laughing. You know, like every couple of minutes, one of us would burst out laughing. And then it was still going through our heads like, oh, what other rhymes, you know. So I just suddenly said, oh, it's really profound, Paul Brown. And everyone just like really, really laughed. And then, you know, my daughter said another little rhyme, and then my son said another little rhyme. And, oh, it was just, it caused us such a lot of hilarity. Like I said, you had to be there. It does not sound very funny now, but honestly, at the time, we were laughing our head off. And we kept on then doing it. That was like the theme of the whole holiday. And that's what holidays are about, isn't it? You know, like kind of when, you know, when you're at home and you're like busy and you're working and all of that kind of stuff, and you're not really, you know, enjoying yourself and having kind of like lots of bonding time, you know, as a family. That's why holidays are so great, isn't it? Because that's your time to really kind of like bond with one another and, you know, make those memories and things. So I know that I will definitely, you know, remember that forever, you know, because it was so funny. And I'm sure that my son and my daughter will also really remember them forever because, or you know, remember that forever because it was so funny, honestly. So, you know, kind of like I can just picture in like 20 years time, we'll still be laughing about it, you know. So yeah, it was really, really good. And just what the doctor ordered for, you know, us to all kind of like have some fun together and yeah, just hang out together. So that was really, really nice. My daughter made tons of friends on there. She's really sociable and yeah, like within, you know, a few hours, she had already made like about 3 different friends. To the point that every day she was kind of like, oh, I'll see you later, you know, I'm going to go to such and such, you know, with my friend. And I hardly saw her, you know, had to just kind of arrange to meet her like at lunchtime and things like that. It was like, oh, well, we'll meet you at like 2:30 in the, you know, in the restaurant. So, yeah, hardly saw her. Obviously, every night we did, you know, it was kind of like, well, we'll meet back at the Rim by like 5. I would normally go back to the Rim by about 3:30 or 3 o'clock, to be honest. And, I would do some crafting in the Rim, you know, but yeah, she would come back at about 5 o'clock and, you know, we'd then all get ready and go down for dinner and all of that. So, but yeah, she made tons of friends. Oh, just talking about you, sweetie. Didn't you make a lot of friends on the holiday?
Yeah.
She did. And what's so lovely, that was the Capital collection. I can't remember whether I said that. And this one is the, vintage desk, again the vintage desk set 3. So yeah, yeah, what's so nice is that now she's kind of made these friends, they all swapped their telephone numbers and I don't know, Snapchat or whatever, so they can Snapchat each other, which is like really cool, isn't it? And I said to her, when we were kids, you know, if we exchanged anything with people, it wasn't necessarily phone numbers, it was addresses. And then you had to do the whole pen pal thing, you know, like in the snail mail, you know, which if I'm truthful, then, you know, you never actually kind of did you? So you just lost contact with the friends that you made on holiday, which was such a shame, wasn't it? So I think that's really, really lovely now that they can just keep in contact then via their Snapchat, like, you know, for years and years to come. So yeah, that was really nice for her. And she definitely, you know, she made a lot of friends and yeah, had loads of fun. Obviously my son didn't make any friends or anything because he's kind of like, yeah, 18 now. So, well, I say that he didn't because he's 18. Actually, you know, we had gone on holiday a couple of years ago and my sons both made lots of friends. But I think that was because there was, you know, they were both together and so it was easier to kind of like hang out and make lots of friends. Where my son was kind of like on his own this year. You know, he maybe didn't have the confidence to go off. I don't know, I didn't really see that many people of his sort of age group that he would have kind of made friends with, if I'm truthful. But, and obviously I didn't make any friends, you know, so yeah. So yeah, anyway, but we had a lovely time. We'd obviously rented our house out while we were away, so yep, that was kind of like a lot of work the week before we went, which was, oh, that was the Clocks collection papers. And this is the Roses collection. So yeah, the pink Roses collection. Yeah, so we'd had a lot of work obviously getting ready. So, oh, I didn't realise this was double-sided. Honestly, I'm such a hoarder when I've actually printed double-sided because I don't necessarily print double-sided very often. Yeah, anyway, so we'd done all that work, obviously, like cleaning the house and tidying and packing all of our stuff away for whilst we were away, you know, because you've got to kind of like empty everything. Ooh, it was a lot of work. But yes, anyway, touch wood, that was all fine. So when we got back yesterday, of course, we had all the cleaning to do from where the guests had stayed. So that's the cleaning that I was kind of referring to. Touch wood, it was, you know, it was fine. But yeah, obviously you have to change like all the beds and all of that kind of stuff, even though the last thing I did before we went was change all the beds and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was all fine. Yeah, and just general cleaning and then obviously some shopping because, you know, of course there was like nothing to eat in the house and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, so now we're home anyway. So, ooh. I mean, that's the thing with holidays, isn't it? You kind of then think, oh, it's gone already. Why did we bother? But definitely that's why you bother, isn't it? To like group together as a family and really have some lovely quality time. Right, I think I'm probably going to just cover these because I'm going to run out of time if I try and do all of these ones as well. So let's just get covering these ones. Yeah, anyway, it flew by. So yeah, we missed Bo so much. So for anyone who doesn't watch my channel, Bo is our little sausage dog. So yeah, my sister looked after her. We'd looked after my sister's couple of dogs a few weeks before while she was on holiday. So yeah, that worked out really well. So yeah, she looked after Bo. Now I have to be honest and say that, you know, when we've been on holiday before, when we've had Bo, we've like FaceTimed her like all the time. But I think that actually makes it worse and really makes you kind of like miss her more. So yeah, we thought that we would not do that this year. So we didn't FaceTime her at all, which 100% that was better, not FaceTiming her, because oh my goodness, you miss her so much. If you FaceTime her, it's kind of like making it worse. So yeah, we definitely, I think, did a good thing by not FaceTiming her. We FaceTimed her in the end on the Friday and the Saturday. You know, we were coming home on the Sunday morning. So, yeah, we FaceTimed her then because it was like, oh my goodness, we're going to see her in 2 days. Can't wait any longer. So we FaceTimed her then on the Friday and the Saturday. And, yeah, just saw her gorgeous little face. And, oh, we couldn't wait to get home and just be with her, squish her and cuddle her and kiss her and all of that gubbins. So, yeah, we picked her up first thing as soon as we got back yesterday. We went straight down and picked her up. We were so pleased to have her home. Yeah, and she was going like mental, kind of like as we got there to pick her up. You know, kind of like dogs, they're just crazy, aren't they? When you go and get them, you know, they're yelping and that kind of like really high pitched, you know, sort of noise. I mean, I probably didn't really sound anything like it, but you know what I mean. So yeah, she was really pleased to see us. So I mean, she'd had a fine time, you know, she was fine staying with my sister and everything, with her and her 2 dogs and everything. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they obviously miss their family, don't they? So yeah, we could not wait to be back with her. So we were very, very pleased. So yeah, and then obviously came home, did the, you know, the cleaning, the washing the bedding and all that stuff. And then, yeah, she was a little bit strange yesterday. You know, like sort of just kept on like wandering about the house. Like, you know, she couldn't settle anywhere. I mean, probably not helped by the fact that, you know, my bed was not made because the duvet was on the floor while I was washing the bedding and all of that kind of stuff. Where normally she likes to lay on my bed under my throw. But of course that was all in the wash. So she, you know, just had to like be on the floor trying to burrow under the actual duvet that was then on the floor. So yeah, that might have been unsettling her as well. But even this morning I got up and I went to the gym, and normally she kind of like, you know, get up and have a cup of tea before I go, and I let her out then to go and have a wee, and she then goes back to bed. And that's where I leave her until I, you know, get home from the gym. Well, today she wouldn't kind of settle. She was like up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah, just kind of that unsettled kind of feeling. So, yeah. Anyway, so pleased to be back with her. She is laying beside me as we speak right now in her little bed. So, yeah, she looks so cute. Honestly, just love her so much. So yeah, that's the worst thing about going on holiday. Like, miss her so much. So much. Wish she could come on holiday with us. Anyway, so yeah. Haven't watched anything on TV, obviously, because, you know, we were away. What else? Yeah, obviously haven't been to the cinema because we've been away. Haven't even looked to see what's on at the cinema this week. So yeah, let me know below if you have been to the cinema or anything. Is there anything that you would recommend? Is there anything that's just come out on Netflix that you would recommend, or Amazon Prime? Any of those that you would recommend stuff? Do let me know, because, you know, I'm now like, oh, lost my routine of now, well, whatever rubbish it was that I was watching before I went. I'd started The Handmaid's Tale, the final season, season 6. I started that just before we went away. But I only watched, I think, 1 episode or maybe 2 episodes, because I was then obviously busy getting ready, you know, before we went away. So I actually didn't really get very far through that. So I think there's 10 episodes in that. So of course I am going to now watch that. But I will probably rewatch those 2 episodes, because I'm now like, I can't even remember, to be honest, what happened. So yeah, going to kind of like go back and watch that. Yeah, that's kind of it really. I am going to do a restock on my website, because it's kind of like empty, and yeah, obviously before I'd gone away there was 1 or 2 people had messaged with requests for a few items. So yeah, I will be doing a restock hopefully later on this week. So if you're waiting for things or looking for things, then keep your eye out. Hopefully later on this week I will have done the restock, and yeah, it will all be restocked. At worst it will be at the weekend, so that's kind of on my list of things to do, is a big restock on there. Yeah, and also while we were away, so it was my big birthday while we were away. We didn't really kind of like do anything to celebrate it or anything, you know, because we said we'd go out for dinner or something once we're home. So yeah, we're probably going to do something now we're home, but yeah, we didn't really kind of do anything. But yeah, when I say big birthday, so it was my, wait for it, my 50th birthday. So yeah, shocking, because that just sounds like such a hilarious number. So we'd gone out for dinner with my lovely friend from the gym. So we went out for dinner, me and my son and my daughter, and we went out with her for dinner, and we went to a Thai restaurant like the weekend before we went away. You know, we planned it ages ago. She said, oh, you know, must go out for your birthday. So yeah, we went out the Friday before we went. Lovely meal, absolutely delicious. But it was so funny, she gave me a card, and it had a big 50 on the front of it. And I know it sounds a really strange thing to say, but it was so weird opening that card, because, you know, like 50, that just sounds like so old. You know, like when we were kids, I mean, obviously, you know, like it does to my daughter, I suppose, 50 sounded so old, and it was kind of like 50, oh my goodness, you know, like literally sounds so old, doesn't it? So seeing that card in the flesh with 50 on the front, I just burst out laughing. I just said, oh my goodness, that is so weird, seeing that huge number and thinking, oh my goodness, that's how old I am. Because obviously you don't feel 50 at all. I mean, I don't feel any different really to when I was like, you know, 20. I mean, the weird thing is, my nan, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, she lived till she was 105. Yeah, 105. Oh, which is encouraging, because, hey, imagine if I lived till that, then I haven't actually reached halfway yet. Whereas, like, you know, in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm over halfway through my life, which is pretty depressing, isn't it? But, yeah, the funny thing was, so when she used to talk about it, and we'd say, oh my goodness, you know, you're 100 or you're, you know, 95 and all this, you know. And do you know what she always would say? She'd just say, I don't feel any different to when I was 16. And, you know, kind of like when she would say that, I'd think, how weird. How weird. You know, why wouldn't you feel any different? You know, of course you must feel different. Now, I'm like, that's what she meant, wasn't it? You know, you don't feel any different. So seeing that number written on the card and thinking 50, feeling no different to 20, you know, and actually kind of like probably thinking a bit, oh my goodness, where have those 50 years gone? Because actually when you kind of like, you know, think back over your life, it doesn't really feel that long, does it? I mean, I'm getting all a bit depressing here, I realise, so I apologise for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not meaning to be depressed, you know, or depressing, because of course, you know, that's a brilliant milestone, isn't it? And, you know, like my friend at the gym had said, you know, a lot of people don't make it to 50. So, you know, congratulations, kind of like 50. That's like a milestone in itself. And he's absolutely right, isn't he? So, you know, that's how I'm viewing it. But yeah, it just seemed so hilarious seeing it written down, because I just thought, what? 50? Me? That's just shocking. Because I just feel like literally no different to when I was like, you know, 18, 20, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it was just like a really, really weird moment. So, yeah, let me know below, like, how old are you? What's kind of gone on in your life? Kind of, how was that like when you turned whatever milestone it was, you know, and maybe you're much younger. And, you know, maybe your milestone was kind of like 30. And even that maybe seemed like a big number. And I can remember being 30 like it was yesterday. We had like a little party in our garden, and, you know, yeah, just literally remember that just like it was yesterday. And it's like, oh my gosh, that was 20 years ago. That is so, so, so shocking. Yeah, it just, I don't know, it just feels really weird to me. So, yeah, let me know, you know, and if you're like older than me, you know, I'm sure you probably still feel the same, you know, maybe kind of like you're in your 80s and you've had a card with like 80 on it, and maybe you also felt like me of like, oh my goodness, look at that number, oh my gosh, that's me. Yeah, it's just so weird, so weird. So yeah, anyway, big number. And like, you know, but like my friend said, aren't we lucky to have reached whatever number that we're at? Aren't we lucky to have reached those kinds of numbers, you know, because yeah, like he said, so many people don't even reach those numbers, do they? So yeah, it just made me laugh. Anyway, I just thought I would share that with you, because that was my thoughts on, yeah, on that milestone birthday. So hey, and I just think, well, 50 is like the new 30, isn't it? No, it's probably like the new 40 maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think that was the other thing, was like when we were kids, you know, like my nan and granddad, who presumably, I mean, like if my nan died at 105, and oh, she must have died, she died the COVID year, so what was that, 2020 I think, so like, yeah, like 5 years ago. So she must have been like in her 50s, you know, when I was growing up. And she did seem so old then, even though she said she only felt 16. She seemed so old. And then my mum's mum and dad, they were, I don't know whether they were the same age actually. I don't know, to be honest. But they did not live to like, you know, 100 or anything like that. I don't know what they lived till, but maybe in their 80s, I'm not sure. But yeah, they also seemed very old, you know. Now again, is that because I was just a child, and so let's be honest, anyone over the age of 20 would have seemed ancient? Or did people seem older, like kind of back then? You know, I think people did, and I think people now kind of like embrace, I don't know, like, you know, you can wear anything now and things like that, when, you know, you can still do certain things that maybe like when we were young, you know, our nan and granddad and things, they would have been like, oh, I'm too old for that. I don't think we do that now, which again, aren't we so lucky that we're kind of like in a day and age where, you know, where we can be like that. So yeah, anyway, that was my thoughts on turning 50. It was like, oh my goodness, I have turned 50. Wow, just like what an old woman I am, but not feeling it, and that's the main thing. So yeah, let me know what you think. So right, I'm going to decorate one of these up now, so I'm just having a look through to decide what to decorate. Wondering about using one of these Swan Lake pieces, maybe on this one with the clocks, or I could do one of the ones from the Swan Lake papers, so it might be too big for this one. Yeah, because that's quite a small envelope, and of course now I've put the thumb hole in there, so yeah, perhaps I'll do that. Although, I mean, it does look quite nice on the clocks one, it's got to be said. Right, so let's decorate this one up. Yeah, anyway, just, yeah, what do you think to the age that you are at, you know? How do you feel about that? Oh, I'm so sorry if I'm a bit rambling today. And I say this as well every time, you know, whenever I'm away from filming for, you know, a few days or a couple of weeks or whatever, it's so weird when you come back because I literally feel like kind of nervous. And this happens every time. Every time I've ever been away from filming. When I come back, I just feel, yeah, like a bit nervous and kind of like, oh gosh. Like out of practice. It's really weird. I haven't cut the tops of these open yet, which I've forgotten. See what I mean? Rusty and nervous. So just going to cut that one open there. Yeah, so I apologise if I'm all a bit rambly and, you know, waffly and doing strange things like forgetting to now finish the pockets by cutting the tops open. But yeah, definitely that's how I always feel whenever I've been away. It's weird, very weird. Like how quickly that you kind of get out of things. I mean, that would look quite lovely on there, but it's obviously it's too big. So that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Let's put that there. Have got some little pink things here that we could use. So let me just ink this up. Okey-dokey. Yeah, I've still got quite a lot more washing to do, unfortunately. So yeah, not done with the cleaning just yet. I mean, to be honest, like I say, there wasn't too much in the way of cleaning. You know, they were really great and really hadn't kind of made too much. Well, I'm not saying mess, you know, because of course they wouldn't make mess, but you know, they hadn't kind of used like hardly anything in the kitchen and things like that. But yeah, have got you know, still bedding to wash and things, and yeah, like towels and that kind of stuff. So yeah, because obviously by the time we got home, I only actually managed to do like 3 loads of washing yesterday. So yeah, still got quite a lot more to do, plus all our holiday clothes, which I haven't even started washing any of those yet. So yeah, lots of washing still to do. Yeah, so this week I'm going to have to be like really eating healthily because you know, I went to the gym every day while we were on holiday, but honestly, still you pile that weight on and it's like, oh my goodness. You know, even going to the gym. So I did like cardio for a whole hour. Yeah, a whole hour. Which, not my favourite thing to do. But I thought, oh, let's be really good. Do the cardio for an hour and all this, like try and, you know, put on as little weight as possible. But yeah, still put on weight. So I just think, oh my goodness, if I hadn't have put on weight, if I hadn't have done the cardio, God knows how much weight I would have actually put on. That would have been, you know, really loads. So yeah, not great, to be honest. Plus went up the stairs every time that, you know, we had to go up and down the stairs, and we were right down low on the ship. So every time we went anywhere, you know, if we went to the restaurants, if we went to the pool, you know, anywhere, we had to go up a lot of stairs. But even then, I'm going to do it like that. So I'm going to put this lace down here. So let me just put that there. Yeah, so goodness knows how much weight I would have put on without going up the stairs. And honestly, the stairs, oh, what a killer. Going up those, wow, never got easier. It was like horrendous. I said to my son yesterday as we went up, because my daughter, it's got to be said, did not go up the stairs. She was very lazy and went up in the lift. So yeah, but my son and I were like, oh my goodness, we'd best try and sort of at least, you know, at least try to not put on so much weight. But yeah, she went up in the lift and we would just say, oh, we'll see you on like the, you know, 16th floor or whatever. And yeah, we said yesterday, you know, and I said to my son, oh, one thing's for sure, I won't be missing these stairs every day. Oh gosh, I don't know how many times we went up them, to be honest, but maybe like, you know, 3 times a day or something like that. But going up, it was like, say, I don't know, 11 floors, or I can't remember, 12 floors, something like that. Wow, that's a lot of stairs, isn't it? So yeah, it was a bit of a killer, I don't mind telling you. Right, I'm going to do this with the hot glue so that hopefully I get that sort of like, you know, slightly raised effect going on, because I don't want it looking really flat. so just go in there like that. Okay, oops, like that. Okay. Yeah, so all of this is from the Swan Lake kit, so including like the things that I'm using as toppers and everything. So yeah, it's all from the Swan Lake kit. There's an ephemera part and a background papers part, so yeah, I started making a couple of things from this kit while I was on holiday as well, so haven't finished them yet, but yeah, hopefully I'll finish them soon, and then they'll be also listed on my website. But I don't think they're going to be the things that are in there this week. But that being said, there will be a journal going in there this week, so yeah, and possibly a folio as well, I think, actually. So yeah, got quite a few things to go in there. So yeah, right, it's got these little flowers. Just try these. Okay, seem to have a bit of vertigo since we've come home. I think I've been like looking down quite a lot, like yesterday. So yeah, a bit annoying. Also got a couple of new kits that I'm going to be listing in the next, hopefully the next day or so. So yeah, keep your eyes out for those. I'm just going to give you a bit of a sneak preview, because I did bring a couple of the papers along. I don't know what they're going to be called yet, but just giving you a bit of a sneak preview. So, well, there's a document set 3 that's going to be going in, so that's a bit of a sneak preview of that one. Yep, it's just a couple of the pages from there. Oh, and that one. Yep, so a couple of documents, or a documents 3 collection, and then there's going to be another peacocks set, which again I'm not sure what it's going to be called, but I loved the peacocks papers that I've done before so much, so yeah, I'm going to put another one in that I've been working on. And there's also some with some fashion plates, with ladies fashion plates. So yeah, they will hopefully all be in the shop, definitely, let's just say by the end of the week, just in case I can't manage to get them all done, you know, in the next like 24 hours, because yeah, I've got quite a few things obviously on the go and to do, so I must be realistic and not kind of say, oh yeah, they're going to be in the shop, you know, like tomorrow, because yeah, it might take me longer than that, but definitely I will aim to get them in there by the end of the week. So okay, and the peacocks one, it's not collection papers, it's you know, it's a kit, so like the Swan Lake kit and the other peacocks papers, so it's going to have an ephemera part and also a, you know, background papers part. So yeah, if you're looking for anything like that, and hopefully it would complement the other peacocks kit, but this one's going to be much more pinks, whereas the other one was kind of like predominantly blues and that tealy type colour. This is going to have more of the pinks and things in it. Right, there we go. So that pocket there, you've got opening pocket at the top, and then I would again glue that on 3 sides, so you'd have side pocket and obviously the top loading pocket. So let's just say if this was a journal page, oops, let me just pull one in. So if that was a journal page, you know, that's how that would be on the page. So really pretty pocket, isn't it? And then yeah, I'd have a side loading pocket there and obviously the top loading pocket there. So yeah, could not be any easier, could they, these pockets? So let's just quickly have a count up of how many we did. So we've done the one we finished, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Plus I've obviously got all those ones that I'd kind of like cut out and not finished. wherever I put those. Oh, I'm not sure where I put those now. Can't actually even see them, which is quite weird, but yeah. Oh, here we go, these. So plus all of these ones which I've glued down but yet cut the papers out ready for them. So yeah, we did quite a few there. Really like them. They're very versatile pockets, you know, very quick and easy, super simple pockets for your junk journals there. And yeah, hope that you like them. Don't forget to let me know obviously any of your TV recommendations. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have an awesome day. Thanks then. Oh, really appreciate a big thumbs up to this video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much then.